Shut up and sit down.
All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome to 323 Weekly. I am wearing a white t-shirt of shame because my team lost this week. And I don't know if I'm going to make this a thing. I just was trying to come up with a reason why I was wearing what is clearly an undecorative shirt. To that end, I hope everyone had a good week of Nexus Gaming Series action. We're going to pick up now, jumping into 323 Weekly this week as take a look. I need to not have... What I'm going to actually do here is that. I'll move it down there. All right, so this week, we're going to jump, of course, into our tier list. We're going to talk about not Game of the Week, sorry. I updated that. It's what to watch for, for each division, as well as our top 5 plays. And this week, for the first time, we're going to be talking about our simulations. Of course, I'll spend a bit of time discussing how those are done, how to interpret them, and why they're probably not very good yet anyway. But with that, we're going to start, as always, just working our way down to the division, starting, of course, at the top with Storm Division. A note on Storm Division is I do not yet have my simulator ready for Storm Division because the rules for Storm Division are different. It's best of 5s as opposed to best of 3s. The tiebreaker rules are different, so my existing model doesn't work for it. But with that, even though they lost this week, really good showing by Regen. I'm high on Team Exodia right now. I have a lot of faith that team is on the up and up. Taking them to a 5-game series, I know you didn't get the win, but I actually thought about moving Regen up because of how well I thought they played in that series. Seton, other Korean team taking that one 3-1. And then VGM coming off that really, really tight match against Team Alexander last week. Got another tight one from Chili Mountain. Not a slouch team at all. Thought about moving Chili Mountain up as well, but decided not to. Talk about that. So here were our tier lists last week, based on those results. And I should note, there's 4 matches each week. CPOG X and Team Alexander will play tomorrow. Obviously, Team Alexander, pretty big favorites there. We'll see if CPOG X can maybe pull a big upset. It would certainly upset my rankings quite a bit were that to occur. But from there, taking a look at how we move things around. So I decided to keep VGM and Exodia both up on this line. I almost actually, it's hard because Chili Mountain was so close to VGM. I could argue they should be on the same tier, but yeah, I'm going to keep them here for now. What I actually did move up was I moved the other Korean team up here, but I moved them to the left. And I came really, really close to convincing myself to do this, but I didn't come close enough. But I came really close, but I didn't come close enough. So for now, Regen going to stay down there. Unfortunately, can't think of name losing. With the losses they have so far, it is becoming very hard, even only 2 weeks in, for me. Let me make sure to turn off my notifications here. It's becoming very hard for me to believe that they have a realistic shot of making playoffs, to where I almost moved them down here. But for now, I'm going to keep them here. But, they're close. It's just going to be very difficult for them to make playoffs. They're going to have to win a match pretty much next week to stay off the E line. But there we go. So, match to watch next week. What to watch for? As I change the name to sate the powers that be. Is VGM versus Exodia. I have them both on the A tier line right now. Exodia's looked good. They looked really good. I think this is an exciting match. If Exodia wins this, it's going to make their eventual match versus Team Alexander really, really exciting. If VGM wins this, I think things settle down and you'll see Alexander pretty much settle-handedly into the 1 seed. VGM settle-handedly into the 2. Of course, those top 2 seeds, or I should say top 4 seeds, are what really matter, as the top 4 go to winner's bracket and playoff, and then 5 and 6 drop to loser's bracket. So, well, you certainly want to stay in the top 4 to give yourself the best chance in playoffs. Anyway, from there, jumping now to Heroic. In Heroic, we saw the 3 Richards, or I should say Richard, and Ree. The 3 Richards getting the domination victory over Archon. Big win. Team Ripers having to forfeit their match against Phoenix Rising Ruby. Now, later you're going to see me move Ripers down a tier, even despite the forfeit. But the reason for that I'll talk to when I get to. Yamate Kudasai, that's it. Yamate Kudasai getting dominated by Brawl is Life. A really big win for New Game Plus, getting that domination over Wildheart. And then Sarah's Crypto's crew, definitely a top team now. They've looked really solid, getting the domination over Phoenix Rising Topaz. So, of course, we have to say goodbye to Sky 5, who did withdraw from the Heroic division. So they will not be here the rest of the season. So I dropped them to E. That's not meant as disrespect. It just means they actually can't make playoffs, and that's where I put teams that, at least this early on, can't make it because they withdrew. But with that, so last week we obviously had Wildheart and Archon on the A line, and they're gonna have to drop. They were beaten by Saros and New Game Plus, who have to climb. Or sorry, not Saros. Excuse me. They were beaten by Richard, and Ree, and Sarah. So pretty straightforward. I accidentally created copies of them. Pretty straightforward here. I just pretty much swap these 2 out. So we're gonna move Archon down to the B line. Move Richard, and Richard up here. We're gonna move Wildheart down to the B line, and we're gonna move Theros up here. There we go. New Game Plus, I thought about moving them up, and I stopped myself. And I'm trying to remember. Hang on, sorry. So I was impressed by their win over Wildheart. And I did have Wildheart on the A line, but I don't know. If I put them over here, they're way to the right. So they do already have a loss this season. They lost to, I believe it was Brawl is Life earlier, if I recall correctly. And I don't want to penalize Wildheart and Archon too much. I still think they're playoff teams, and fairly safely so. From there, you get down into some of the other results. We obviously talked about the Phoenix Rising Ruby. While I had them way over here to the right of Ripers did forfeit, and anytime so this is why I'm moving them down despite a forfeit. And I say that because yes, it's a loss, but it doesn't tell us how good they are. The reason I move them down is that anytime there's a forfeit this early in the season, it usually doesn't bode well. Now there are exceptions, but that's where I'm at right now. So for now, I'm kind of happy with this tier list the way it is. I haven't made a lot of modifications. I think these 4 teams are gonna be the top 4, but I have like New Game Plus kind of between the 2 just because they already have a loss to one of the teams here. But they're still a really solid team, and I think they're going to be top 4. Now, to the simulations. So first, let me move my head, and we're going to talk a little bit about what my simulation system is. So if you've been in NGS the last few seasons, you've probably seen me post this, something like this in your division chat at some point or another. Now, for the sake of this, because if you've seen it, you may have seen I did different models. All I'm doing here is the naive model. So here is how these simulations work. The idea is every team has an ELO rating. That rating tells us how good that team is as a number. Now, obviously, this number is derived. I don't enter the numbers. I don't choose what the numbers are. With a naive approach, what I do is I assume every team starts with the same number. And then whenever a team beats another, the winner's score goes up, the loser's score goes down. If the winner is substantially favored, like they're like a 2,000 and the team they beat's a 1,600, their ELO rating is barely going to go up. It's going to go up by like a couple points. Not even. However, if an underdog wins, their point goes up considerably, and the losers comes down considerably. So ELO is a zero-sum game. The total number of points won't change. Everyone starts with the same number, and that sum never increases or reduces. If a team score goes up by 27, the team they beat goes down by 27. But what this tells us is the teams with the higher score are more likely to beat the teams with the lower score. Now, this can break down in some places, and we'll talk about this. But overall, it's turned out to generally be fairly effective. From there, all I do is I simulate all unplayed games with a random probability based on that ELO difference. So again, the bigger the difference, the more likely the favorite wins. I simulate those 100,000 times. It's called a Monte Carlo simulation. And then I just look at the results after the fact. So, for example, here I have 8 seeds because there's 8 teams in Heroic that will make playoffs. For example, New Game Plus has a 17.05% chance, according to my simulation. I'm not saying they actually have this. I'm saying when I simulated it, I came up with 17.05% chance of getting the 4 seed. Whereas, for example, Richard have a 21.39% chance of getting the 1 seed. Now, we're very, very early in the season, which means these numbers may mislead a bit because a lot of teams have only played 2 games. Some have only played 1, especially when we get into some other divisions later. The only team that is eliminated from playoffs so far is, in fact, Sky 5. And the reason for their elimination is that they withdrew, and obviously that means they forfeit all remaining matches. From there, on the right will always be the total remaining playoff chance. It's not always sorted in this order. It's kind of a weird sort that I do, which usually works, except when it doesn't. And where it can get thrown off a lot, the sorting, is if one team has a very large number of games remaining proportional to everyone else. Like, this will happen when we get to the end of the season, and someone has played none of their flex matches, and they have like 4 matches left, and everyone else has like 2. It throws off my sort a lot, but we're obviously not running into that yet. So now, let's take a look. And I added, just to clarify, this is based explicitly on the simulation odds. This is not my tier list on the bottom here. These things on the bottom are not a tier list. They're saying if the simulation is correct, then these are the teams that are safe bets to make playoffs. These are the teams that are probable. These are the bubble teams. These are the teams that are improbable. And then these are teams that are long shots. Of course, I will stipulate this now. Season 7, there was Team Happy, Cloud, and A that my simulations had them at about 2% chance to make playoffs. And about midway through the season, it's because they had lost a lot of games. And when you looked at the teams remaining on their schedule, all those teams were high seeds. They made some roster changes. My simulation does not account for roster changes. There's no realistic way for me to track the roster changes of 110, 120 teams. Made some roster changes. They improved their play quite a bit, and they went from 2% to making playoffs. And they ended up actually doing okay in playoffs. I don't think they won first round, but they definitely put on a good show. So if you see your numbers low, that means, it just means you need to win more to make playoffs. that your path is narrower. Or if you're seeing like a 99% number, well, your path's a little bit wider. You're a bit more safe. I'm actually gonna make a quick change real quick. I'm gonna capture cursor, and the reason is so I can point things out a bit better. So right now, in terms of safe bets to make playoffs, my simulator really likes Cero's Crypto Crew. They've played, they've played 2 of their matches. They've dominated both. Richard, and Richard, Brawl is Life. I think both dropped 1 map, but otherwise have done well. So that's why their odds are a bit lower. But you can kind of see here pretty clearly these 4 seem likely to make very, very likely make playoffs. Again, things can change. So very early, most teams have only played 2. But it'll be interesting to see. So just do some quick math here. 8 teams make playoff. Call these 4 safe. Say all 3 of these make it in, which again, with Phoenix Rising Ruby, one of their wins comes off a forfeit. And I should note, I don't count forfeits towards ELO rating. A team does not gain or lose ELO in a forfeit, whether they're the winner or the loser. Because we didn't actually see them play. We don't know how, it doesn't change our opinion of how good they are. But they do lose those potential points or gain those potential points, depending on the forfeit result. Not ELO points, but playoff points. The map score that NGS uses. So let's say that these 3 all make it in addition to these 4. You're talking about only one of Double Paradox, Topaz, Yamate Kudasai, and Team Ripers getting in. Will be interesting to see if these can maintain, but we'll look at these playoff simulations as the season goes on. Eventually, we'll add locks and eliminated, but we're not there yet. Any questions about the simulations, by the way? Just drop them in the Twitch chat. I'm happy to explain kind of how they're done, or if there are people who don't entirely understand what I'm doing here. As I stealthily take a drink of Mountain Dew. All right. So now moving on to the A West results. Not a lot. A West, the smallest division, only 7 teams. It is double round robin, which means there's going to be a lot of flex matches, albeit none have been played yet. But so far, we saw Regen Retro get the domination victory over Running Wild, and we saw Minion Miners get the 2-1 over Fox and his carries. Fancy Flightless Foul and Forge the Winning Condition are actually playing right now over on Arrow RG, so if you want to multi-Twitch or pull that up on a separate window, certainly encouraged to do that and continue to support NGS streamers. No spoilers though, as I actually do kind of want to watch this later, as I targeted this as a pretty important match week. Oh yeah, I forgot my match to watch this week for Heroic is going to be me move my head again. Going to be Phoenix Rising Topaz versus Wildheart. Wildheart coming off a loss. We'll get to see if they're actually a top 6 team. Topaz, a team I didn't have high expectations for early, but they did get an early win over Sky 5. We'll see, however, if they have the guns to kind of stay in with some of these upper teams. Maybe look for upset opportunities. From there. So this was my tier list last week. Not a lot has changed simply because there have only been 2 games. Like, for example, I can't move Forge the Winning Condition because they haven't played since I've last done this. It'd be a strange thing to do. I am going to jump Running Wild down to D, and unfortunately, I think they're likely to end up in E fairly soon. I don't think Running Wild has the guns to hang around this division. I think this... Looking at it now, admittedly, they might not be able to compete. We'll see. We'll see if they can get better. Certainly, I've said that before. Last season, I said that about Phoenix Rising Ruby, because early on, their macro looked really bad in their first couple of matches. And they ended up getting the 1 seed. So... can happen. They'll have a second chance at all of these teams, but it has not looked pretty so far. From there, sorry, Minion Miners. Not only I actually am keeping you in B. If you want to go to E, you could have lost. You could have lost. It was your choice. You chose to beat Fox and his carries. Fox and his carries, they actually have yet to win a match. They're currently 1-4. Forge the winning condition right now looks really good though, so I'm not trying to fault them for that. But currently, my simulations don't have them close to making playoffs. They're gonna have to turn this around pretty quick, as they're already again sitting at 1-4 on map record. Didn't move any of these teams off the line. Looking at those results again, I mean, Regen Retro did dominate running wild, but you would expect as much. So not enough to move them up to S. But there is a big match between two of these teams. It's not scheduled yet, but it is a week 3 matchup, so they will have to play it. And that's going to be between Regen Retro and Baby Makers. So once you see that scheduled, definitely check that match out. It's going to be very exciting to see who wins, as that team will quickly be the favorite in A West, or at least they'll be competing for the role of favorite alongside Forge the Winning Condition, maybe. All right. So now, A West Simulations, safe bets right now. So A West is unique. Only 4 teams are going to make the playoffs. Right now, the simulation really likes minion miners, Himmy. Just letting you know, it has you as the top chance to get 1 seed. Although it's all fairly even, 25% chance pretty much to everyone. But it has the 4 of you guys as the playoff teams. It has already moved Fancy, Flightless Foul, and Fox and his carries to Improbable, and already down to single-digit % on the side of Running Wild, despite only 2 matches played. We'll see. I mean, obviously, the season is long, and it is a double round robin. I will say that, if the early games are misleading, this is the division that they will be the most misleading in. Because of the small number of teams, each loss makes the simulation overreact more because it's a double round robin. If it weren't a double round robin, it wouldn't overreact as much. And I know that sounds strange, but it's just because then the next time you play, it's going to think that the winner is still favored. So that's going to hurt your chances a lot. But we'll see how it goes. I think this gap between 4 and 5 is way too big right now. And I would actually be surprised if that doesn't shrink a bit at some point. All right. A East. Beefy Boys, the team that I had solely in D tier week 0, continues to win, getting the 2-0 domination over struggling Wholesome Halfwits. Gilly Shark comes back after losing to Beefy Boys, and they're gonna be moving up. Beefy Boys, of course, no longer the meme team. I actually have them moving up quite handsomely here. Let me pull up my notes here at the same time. On the other side, Party Time getting tripped up by Roomba rotations. Roomba rotations has made a lot of roster changes, but they are putting the rest of A East on notice here, I think. This is absolutely a team now that you really need to prepare. Pardon me. That you really need to prepare for, excuse me. Tiny Dancers also dropping to Roomba rotations, getting 1 map, perhaps a familiarity helping them do that. 2 week 2 matches yet to be played. Team Happy Cloud versus Tiny Dancers. I should note the Roomba and the Tiny Dancers matchup was actually a week 1 match played late. So THC versus Tiny Dancers and Regen Phoenix versus Caffeinated Nights. Both are tomorrow at 9 Eastern. So check those out. Right now, because they haven't played this week, I'm not going to be moving Regen Phoenix. I'm not going to be moving Team Happy Cloud. I'm not going to be moving Caffeinated Nights. So they're gonna all like staying still. Actually, Careless Badgers didn't play this week either. So Careless Badgers is staying still. They had a bye. So these teams, these 4, they're not going anywhere. Roomba, I'm moving Party Time down. I'm gonna keep Party Time in between these 2. I don't think Party Time's a bad team at all, but Roomba, they're going straight to A. So enjoy the Kiss of Death idioms that I just gave you. Because if you've been watching this show, you know that is a kiss of death. What I'm trying to say is I'm not very good at my job. Beef Boys, they're going to move up to B, and I'm actually going to drop them here. And I would say right now I could also see this, and actually I am going to move them to the left of Careless Badgers because I think their win is more impressive. Wholesome Halfwits and Tricky Gooses just kind of looking outmatched a little right now. I'm going to move Gilly back up to C, but I'm moving Wholesome Halfwits and Tricky Gooses down. So, with that, this is my current tier list, and I do have the left to right ordering here, so I think, the further left the team is, the closer I think they're moving up. The further right, the closer I think they're moving down. But yeah, Roomba Rotation's the big mover this week. Looking really good in that match against Party Time. They broke out a meme game 1. I casted that match. They broke out a meme game 1, and they got slaughtered. And then they just slaughtered Party Time the next 2 games. I didn't get to watch the Tiny Dancers match, but when Roomba played the way they play, they dominated. So I had to move them up to A. It looked really good. All right, simulations. Right now, Beef Boy Simulator likes you. If you, I hope you like the Java programming language because it seems to like you. I'm gonna move my head a little again. Oh, forgot the match to watch next week. Party Time versus Team Happy Cloud, 2 veteran A East teams. That's actually casted by Cotip, and that's over Wednesday at 9. But Simulator likes Beef Boys, which sounds like a headline that would get a local politician in trouble. It also really likes Gilly Shark, despite Gilly Shark's loss to Beef Boys. It still quite likes them, quite likes their odds. Party Time and Roomba, Party Time losing to Roomba, still likes their odds. All 4 above 90%. Then you got the Probable Careless Badgers, we've only seen once. They beat Regen Phoenix. We haven't seen them since, so still kind of an unknown there. Caffeinated Knights, I actually still have them at A tier. But they've only played 1 match, so that's why they're a bit lower still. Regen Phoenix has played 2. They lost to Careless Badgers 2-1. They got the win over Wholesome Halfwits. It likes their odds. Has Team Happy Cloud on the bubble. I don't suspect that will stay this way. I think Team Happy Cloud's gonna, by the time all's said and done, I think Team Happy Cloud's gonna be safely in the playoffs. Tiny Dancers, though, I think is legitimately a bubble team, and admittedly, I'm very worried about Wholesome Halfwits and Tricky Gooses having a chance to make playoffs. So if you look at these top 9, if I had to pick one team today that I don't think would make playoffs, it would. Again, I don't know enough about Careless Badgers. I'd probably say it's either Phoenix or Tiny Dancers, depending on who wins that. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, B West results. B West, Arrogant Nephilim has they lost again. This time they lost to Uwu, but they've now basically played all their toughest opponents. It seems, at least on paper. They beat Soak Every Lane, they lost to Lurk Patrol, and they lost to Uwu. So while that hurts them, I think when you look at it subjectively, I think the remaining schedule sets up very nicely for them to safely be a top 4 seed, especially with that win over Soak Every Lane. Lurk Patrol getting the 2-0 over Bronze 6, Better Than Bots 2-0 over Roll 1, Soak Every Lane getting 2-0 over Wind Train, Cosmos getting the 2-0 over Spooky Ghosts. So, taking a look at our tier list, what that changes, really not much. Lurk Patrol and Uwu, they stay on the top line. They're not going anywhere. Whoever wins this series is going to be the 1 seed. I'll tell you that now. And the second that series is played, I'll move their winner up to the S line. They're looking really, both teams looking really good. Arrogant Nephilim, I moved them but I didn't move Soak Every Lane down, so I just swapped this ordering. I still have Bronze 6 over here, and I probably want to actually do this. I'm going to move Bronze 6 over to the right for now, just because they're coming off a loss. But I also don't blame them too much for that loss, because it was the Lurk Patrol. Beyond that, I know I've only moved things left to right at the moment, right? And let me do another shuffle down here. But I can't really bring myself to actually change anyone's tiers in B West after this week. Kind of everything that happened was more or less as expected. So I'm just going to keep it here for the time being. An opportunity, though, to figure out if anyone else is going to challenge Uwu and Lurk Patrol. Soak Every Lane, they are coming off that loss to Arrogant Nephilim, but I have a high opinion of Arrogant Nephilim. If I were to move a team down, it probably would have been Soak Every Lane, so I'm going to move them over to the right. They got an opportunity, though, against Better Than Bots to get a good win. So we'll see what happens. That match not scheduled yet, but when it is, definitely my one to watch for here. What to watch for here. BSE Simulations really likes Lurk Patrol, really likes Uwu, really likes Better Than Bots. Again, they haven't dropped any, maps. The difference is Lurk Patrol has actually played 3 matches so far, so that gives them the inside track to the 1 seed. They have less uncertainty. You just scheduled that game? Okay. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to see who was in it, or when it was. But from there, you got Probables, Soak Every Lane, Cosmos, and Bronze 6. And I actually think the only team that I think actually won't kind of stay in their range, I expect Arrogant Nephilim to move up to Probable or Safe. But I think this group being Probable for a while seems likely. I think these two being on the bubble seems likely. I think these two being improbable, unless they start pulling upset, seems likely. Keep in mind that when I'm ranking these, this is not subjective. This is based on the playoff chances up here. So that's where that's coming from. This is not my tier list. This is not a subjective ranking. This is if the simulation's correct, how to interpret this. All right. B Northeast. So time for the shame. First, Lubu domination victory over Strange Team Comp. Animaniacs domination over Deckard's Erudition. It's all dominations. You got Boogans Forever getting the big win over Scalding Sweat Cult. That's one of the 2 big upsets this week. Upsets based on my tier list. Not to say that it was unexpected. After the fact, it makes sense. Obviously, my team Legal losing to Death and Delay. And then Regen Ghost getting the 2-0 over Die Gaming. So with that, pretty straightforward swaps to take place here. Death and Delay has looked really good. I didn't notice some of the when I originally had them down at D, that was based on their performance last season, but they actually made some really positive roster changes. And Boogans Forever getting that win. I'm actually going to put them in this order for now. And let me just make sure that I'm doing things. I also decided to move Lubu up to the 1 line because they've looked really strong in their matches. So here is currently what I have. Actually, I had Animaniacs over on the left. So that's what I have on the top half. I did move Deckard's Erudition down and Strange Team Comp to the right of Regen Ghost. But otherwise, this is where I'm at right now. Match to watch next week. I think the most interesting one on paper is my team Legal versus Regen Ghost. This is not self-promotion. This just, to me, if I were watching, this looked like the most interesting match. It's going to be casted by Arrow starting at 9:15 Eastern on Thursday. So this is where I'm at. Obviously, the big movers, Boogans Forever, Death and Delay, Lubu. Lubu over to the right because they have the least impressive wins so far. But like Death and Delay and Boogans Forever have more impressive wins. Lubu has the least impressive wins, but they are undefeated. So they go up on the A line for now. All right, so now, and I know I have Bugin even though they lost one game, but it's kind of one of those like, who they lost the game to kind of thing. I think was okay. All right. So now, Northeast Simulations. It actually this was really surprising. The top 6, it all had above 90%. So the top 6, it all had as safe bets. Strange Team Comp on the bubble, and then Decker's Erudition and Die Gaming on the improbable line. I suspect some of these teams are going to start bleeding down here as they start playing each other into the probable and maybe into the bubble. So we'll see what happens. Southeast, Southeast. Once again, domination victory, save for one match. 2 calculated throw, dominated Team Tiny, or excuse me, ZZZ. A lot of members from Team Tiny, also Deep Fried Ragares. But they got the domination. Death Web looking really good. Death Web looking like the best team in this division right now. Probius, I would say, looked very, very strong in their win over Beyond Gaming. Stronger than I expected. Amateur opponent 2-1 over Bancho. Those teams were both in C last season, but both, I think, have a chance to make some noise here. Amateur opponent, probably going to like where I move them on the tier list here in a second. Region Anomaly continuing to struggle, however. Dropping 0-2 to Phoenix Rising Diamond. So what's that do? So here's where we were after last week. Obviously, we need to swap Death Web and Hollow Live Gaming Catgirls after that 2-0 domination. We're going to go ahead and move Probius up to A as well. I'm going to keep Death Web on the left because they have, in my mind, the better win. I'm also going to move Amateur opponents up here, but they're going to stay over on the right. I thought about leaving them on the B line, but I'll move them up for now. Beyond Gaming, yes, they did lose, but I still think I didn't see enough reason to move them down to C yet. From there, Bancho is a better than a C team, but they don't have the results for me to move them up right now. Like they don't have wins for me to move them up, but I will move them up to B, I suspect, soon, or I just gave them the kiss of death, either or really. Beating ZZZ for me, not enough to move 2 calculated throw up, so I'm just going to swap Diamond and Anomaly. But I'm going to do a little bit of rearranging. So this is where I'm at with B East. I suspect Hollow Live Gaming Catgirls will be back up in A, but again, I'm just seeding based off the results as they are now. I think Death Web is probably going to move up to S fairly soon. I'm starting to have suspicions that maybe that team would do pretty well in A West based on their play so far. But we'll see what happens. Or A East, I would say. Anyway, Simulations, Death Web, Probius, both clear favorites because they're undefeated record. Phoenix Rising Diamond, the simulator likes them a whole heck of a lot more than I do. I'm just not impressed with Phoenix Rising Diamond's wins. And I think that they've gotten their easy wins out of the way, but we'll see what happens. Still likes Beyond Gaming and 2 calculated throw. As amateur opponents, the probable, I'm bigger on them. I feel fairly safe saying that amateur opponents, I think, is a playoff team. Bancho, I think, will also make playoffs. I think the 2 teams that are down here, ZZZ and Region Anomaly, are going to struggle to make playoffs, but we'll see. We'll see if they can do some improvement or maybe pull some big upsets to get up to the bubble. See what happens. All right, moving on now to C West. So C West was the division where I've already been really wrong in some predictions. But taking a look at the results, can't counterpick stupid, getting the 2-0 over Team Maroon. I'm not even going to try to pronounce their name anymore. It's something Garrulous something. GG 2-0 over Can't Create Acronyms. Randy Newman continuing to dominate 2-0 over Resurgence of the Storm. Artemis getting a good 2-1 win over Annie Oak League. Respect the Goose. Very close match with Bloodbath and Beyond. Bloodbath and Beyond ultimately losing that in Game 3. And Team Rainbow Strike Go, they got the 2-1 over Essence Gaming, which I do think is a very good quality win, and I'll reflect that in the tier list here in a second. So, Randy Newman staying on the A-line, obviously. I'm actually moving GG and TRSG up. I think they've looked good. I still think there's a pretty big gap from Randy Newman to the other teams. I almost moved Randy Newman up to S, actually. But I need to see them like maybe beat one of like these 4 teams. I know Resurgence Storm was up here, but they're not going to be anymore. One of these 4 teams, if they beat them, I'll probably move them up to S. Check my notes here. Oh no, I did leave Resurgence Storm up here because I didn't want to penalize them for losing to Randy Newman. That's right. I did move Team Maroon down to the bottom line. I moved Artemis up here, and I moved Annie Oak League down. So this is where I'm at right now. I thought about moving Can't Create Acronyms down, but they, when you look at who they lost to, they lost to a team that I think is looking really good right now. If anything, I think this team is more likely to challenge Randy Newman than TRSG, so I'm going to swap the order here. But match to watch, it's going to be GG versus Can't Counterpick Stupid. That is Tuesday, 11 Eastern, Jazline's Twitch channel. Check that one out. That is the what to watch for. Simulations, it likes the top 5 quite a bit. There's a really big gap between the top 5 and the next teams. I think this actually is fairly good, though, in terms of how it's done. I do suspect that if you ask me, I think, obviously I think these 5 do make playoffs. I think 3 of these 4 will make playoffs. Any of these 3 could sneak back up, but I think that's fairly good so far. Take a freeze frame, I guess, if you want to investigate the percentages. It's still really early, by the way. The simulation's going to change very, very dramatically as the season goes on. All right, C East results. Maple Syrup Bandits dropping 0-2 to Phoenix Rising Citrine. Not too surprising there. Limit Break coming in, though, with the 2-1 over House of Shez. I think that kind of middle tier of, like, what you'd probably say, like, 3 to 8 seed of C East is going to be incredibly competitive. And Limit Break coming back and having a good win having a good win over House of Ches, but ultimately losing to Witch Rhythm. Witch Rhythm, meanwhile, lost to Nexus Cats. And big upset from the standpoint of what I expected to happen. Bunker Funtime getting the 2 over your math teachers, looking good doing it. Right now, we haven't seen Duratans and Heavy Slaps play, and we haven't seen Zul'jin Distillery or Protectors of Ire to be played. So I can't move up XGD, although they're on the cusp of moving up to A. I'll say that. But I'm not willing to move them up if they haven't actually played. You don't get to sit on the sidelines and move up. So once they play their match, we'll see what I do. But so here's where we were. Obviously, your math teacher's moving down. Bunker Funtime going to move up. We'll talk about where exactly these teams all move. Witch Rhythm is going to move up. House of Shez is going to move down. With that loss to Limit Break. Nexus Cats is going to move up. And then where is the precise positioning? So right now I still have Citrine and Nexus Cats up on the top. I'm going to keep them here. Witch Rhythm, Limit Break, XGD. If I had to guess, this is how I would align them right now. Bunker Funtime. I did drop your math teachers down to C, but it's more just because I didn't like having 5 teams here in B. I would have put them here. It's not a good reason. I'm not going to pretend. No, actually, I did have 5 teams. Forgive me. I still have House of Shez up on B. But I think I'm actually going to drop them down to C for now. Because I think they're right now, based on record, I'd put them kind of comparable to your math teachers. Let's do it this way. So this is where I'm at. Obviously, we need to see these two teams play, and we need to see Heavy Slaps and Duratans play, and that'll maybe change some things. This is my C East tier list for now. It's a nice little plus sign shape. So there you go. Witch Rhythm did lose to Nexus Cats, but actually I'm going to say I think Nexus Cats win is better than Phoenix Rising Citrine, so I'm going to swap them. I'm really excited to see when these two teams play, but my match to watch, this is going to be a big opportunity for Zul'jin Distillery to move up. Zul'jin Distillery thinks that that it's between them and Nexus Cats. And they have a chance to prove that if they get the win over Citrine next week. No caster yet for that match. It's Wednesday at 9:30. If no one picks it up by the time 323 is over, I might grab it myself. It's a really sexy looking game if you ask me. Simulations, Safe Bets, Nexus Cats, Phoenix Rising, Zul'jin Distillery. This by far has the most parity, by the way, of any of the divisions, which in the simulation, which I think is representative of the division itself. I think the division has a lot of parity to it. But it is interesting, too, when you look at it. If you assume the top 6 all make playoffs, you're only looking at 2 of all these remaining teams. Your math teachers Limit Break there, House of Shez. And if you told me that your math teachers and House of Shez were on the bubble at the beginning of the season, I'd be surprised. Now, again, they have many opportunities to get more win. This uncertainty will reduce as time goes on. But here's where we're at for now. Okay. D West now. D West, so another couple matches being played on Sunday, but Clouded Minds 2-0 over 9 Avatara. Can't Connect Stuns 2-0 over Puns Upon a Time. Cool Cats and Kittens 2-1 over TRSG Knights. We Scaling 2-1 over Regen Divine. Cool Cats and Kittens getting another win 2-0 over Knights That Stay Bronze. Still waiting on the result of Lightly Salted versus Nerf the Smurfs. Two teams that I know absolutely nothing about still, really. And then Yavapai and Knights That Stay Bronze. That one's tonight at midnight Eastern Time. So I guess in Eastern Time it's technically tomorrow, but it is 3 hours and 11 minutes from now. Take for that whatever you will. So originally I just had it where I was going to put, and Slightly Salted beat Yavapai in week 1, although that was after we did the show. So this was where I had the teams, and it was strictly because D West, and I still, to me, it's the division I'm most uncertain of. But D West, I knew so little about so many of the teams that I just put the winners on top, the losers on bottom. Now we're starting to see a bit more separation. I've been able to actually watch some of the matches. And I gotta say that the 3 teams that stand out to me as likely the best, just not just from results, but from the eye test, are these 3. Can't Connect Stuns, Clouded Minds, and Cool Cats and Kittens. Lightly Salted, getting the win over Regen Divine. They stay up here. Puns did lose to Can't Connect Stuns, but I still think they're going to do okay. I have them here for now. From there, I move Knights That Stay Bronze, 9 Avatara down. I'm not moving Nerf the Smurfs or We're Scaling yet, just because they haven't played. So I'm kind of keeping them over here. Yavapai, Regen Divine did move down, and TRSG Knights still over here. So Can't Connect Stuns, currently my favorite, but again, it's not easy to compare these 3 teams' resumes right now. We'll see what happens. Simulations now. Simulations, so Can't Connect Stuns, Clouded Minds, CZK. Simulator likes them too. Still really likes Regen Divine, even though I kind of cooled on them a little. Likes Puns Upon a Time. Still a lot of uncertainty in this bubble area, though. You look, there's, from 80% to 20% is over half the division. So that's a pretty big level of uncertainty. We'll see what happens as more games get played. Still, though, I actually broadly agree that I think this is a fairly good playoff picture. maybe whoever wins between Worst Scaling and Nerf the Smurfs moves up to probable, and move Reach and Divine down to bubble, but we'll see. The East, Frankfurters 2-0 over Council of Mages. Phoenix Rising Onyx dropping 0-2 to Rise and Grind. Bad Matchmaker continuing to prove me wrong from week 0. 2-1 over I Must Feed. They've beaten OMF and IMF. Sadly, there are no more MFs. So they're going to have to find a new strategy to beat teams with other abbreviations. Hot's Potato, they hadn't reported their match by start time last week. They did. Their first match got a 2-0 over Psystorm. They since beat one more fight 2-0. They're looking pretty good. And of course, because I moved them down, now they're doing better. The Probius Strikes Back 2-0 over Psystorm. So, I overreacted. They're moving back up. These guys are moving down. They, now that I've seen the results, they're currently, they're 0-4. Hot Potato 4-0. They're moving up. One more fight, moving down. Oh no, they're not. They're moving to the right. I still am holding out hope. Bad Matchmaker's moving up, by the way, and Frankfurters moves up. Phoenix Rising Onyx also moved down. Where did I put? I put Council of Mages down at D as well. Okay. So I did try to watch some of these games. Didn't get to watch all of them, but based on results, this is currently my tier list. I swapped Onyx and Probius order. There we go. Okay. Yeah. This is where we're at. Hot Potato, their quality of wins is maybe still a bit questionable. I probably shouldn't have OMF on the B line, if I'm honest. I think that I've seen things from them in the past where I think they're still going to be okay. When you look at who they've lost to, Bad Matchmaker, Hot Potatoes, teams that have been on the rise, I still think they're probably going to be playoffs, but I will say the simulator doesn't like them at all because they started with losses. What to watch for? It's going to be Frankfurters versus Team Banshee. That's going to be a big match next week. Not scheduled yet, or at least wasn't scheduled earlier this afternoon. But check it out if you get the chance. Also, I forgot to mention with D West, the match to watch. Can't Connect Stuns versus Regen Divine. No caster yet, but that's Thursday at 9. So here's where we're at. Simulator, again, still has OMF on the bubble, but it likes these 6. Hot Potatoes, Rise and Grind, Team Banshees, Frankfurters. Probius Strikes Back, the simulator still really likes, despite their loss to Bad Matchmaker. Bad Matchmaker here as well. It also quite likes Phoenix Rising Onyx more than I do. But it does have Council of Mages and Psystorm down at Improbable already. They're sub 25%, so take that for what you will. Last division. Division E. Results. The Baddest Dudes, 2-0 over Core Bouncers. FC Hong Kong, 2-0 over Bull Moose Party. FF and the Pancakes, 2-0 over Poseidon. The only 3-game series of the week. Illa Dancing Queens, 2-1 over the Devil's Rejects. I think both those teams are in the top half. It was a good match. And then Fredonia, 2-0 over Phoenix Rising Amethyst. A lot of these results conform to what I already have. Kind of the only surprising one, I would say, was the Baddest Dudes beating Core Bouncers. But I think that says more about Baddest Dudes than about Core Bouncers. So, Baddest Dudes getting the double jump. We're playing some Celeste now. They're doing the double jump. From there, FF and the Pancakes. I actually was more impressed by their win. They swapped places with Fredonia. Devil's Rejects still stay on the B line despite the loss. It was against Illa Dancing Queens. Can't fault them too much for it. Ice Crown Citadel Knights. So this match was played late Sunday. It was after week 1, but they played another match that I didn't list that they lost. I have them down at C right now. None of their losses are particularly bad yet, but we'll see. And then Bull Moose Party, I actually moved down here. Which I don't really have a good order between these 3. I don't know which one I would say is the worst, but these three teams I don't think are going to make playoffs based on what I've seen. And the simulator agrees with me on that respect, although it has Ice Crown Citadel Knights, a lot of uncertainty, and again, a new team, a lot of uncertainty for me, but I do like the 5 safe bets here. Core Bouncers, we haven't gotten to see too much of them yet, but they did very well in Heroes Lounge, so I think they're going to do okay. So that is your simulation for Division E. Again, all these simulations early, very early. I'm going to put a scenario out there for you just to explain why not to read necessarily too much into these. Imagine a situation where, well, a good example actually is Arrogant Nephilim. Let's go back up to B Southeast. Arrogant Nephilim, or no, B West. Arrogant Nephilim, they're currently on the bubble, right? Well, look at who they've played. They have played Lurk Patrol, Uwu, and Soak Every Lane. And they beat one of those teams, right? So, yes, they did lose to 2 other teams. That hurts their elo, but those teams are actually good. Like, subjectively, I know those teams are good, but the model doesn't account for that subjectivity. It only takes results as they happen. So, like, Arrogant Nephilim's not going to be a bubble team by the end of the season, I don't think. You know, I have some wood here. There you go, Arrogant Nephilim. So take these simulations, especially this early, with a grain of salt. They usually don't start painting a really good picture of what the playoffs and what the seeding is going to look like until like around week 6 when we start getting into the last third of the season. There's a lot of noise until then, so, you know. With that, now it is time for the top 5 plays of week 2, submitted by you to the play of the game. So remember, if you want to see your replays in the top 5 plays, you gotta submit those plays of the game. When you report your result, if you were casted, get a clip of the caster. If you weren't casted, you can do a point of view stream, even just a point of view replay, and you can just take that moment and make a Twitch clip from it. But either way, submit those Twitch clips. That's how you're gonna get in this top 5. Top 5 this week, I had a bit of trouble picking it. There were a lot of good plays. There were only a couple what I would say were like great plays. But there were a lot of really good plays. So with that, we're gonna start, and let me make sure that I am
maybe they try, I know they just...
We weren't ready for that. Let me make sure that everything is good to go here. Second, I'm gonna make sure I'm good to go here. All right. So at number 5, we got Arrogant Nephilim versus Soak Every Lane. It was casted by Jasleen, and this one is called Hallways Are Bad. Okay, so here we go. Top 5.
Maybe they try. I know they just used Entomb there and kind of whiffed on it, but no real engagement. Second time getting a little close because we see the flip and the wall bang out onto Garrosh. Just Puppy Unstoppable. A beautiful wall coming out from Doobles there. Stay a while and listen coming out to just lock teammate in place. But he has his eyes set on Rainer there as he continues to chase down. He's going to flip back onto him, gets the body blocked in. But a wall bang onto Kime there. But no one's blast coming out and just, oh my goodness. Just a quad kill coming out, and Philippik is not.
All right, that was number 5. Hallways Are Bad. Okay. Number 4. While technically the caster was wrong, I liked the line. So the highlight is called Kenorphia 1v5.
Count down. Nara down. PTC down.
Kenorphia 1v5. Here we go. Broom Boy. Bashing.
Oh, is she gonna be able to
Look at all those potions. There she goes. Broom Boy tossing bashing out of there, being like, oh no, this Orphea is a terror.
All right, and that was number 4. That was Boogan Forever versus Scolding Sweat Cult. Against level 10s, Orphea holding the point there with the 2v4 with Deckard's help. That was casted by Sergeant Scoops. Match highlight number 3. It's going to be Saving Private Rainer. This is Roomba Rotations versus Party Time. Casted by yours truly. Rotating down. Leo has vision of this, though, and the Rainer getting a bit isolated. Horrify might be enough to buy him the escape. Can he get the heal? He does. Pyroblast does not finish. Storm Earth Fire all over this backline, doing so much damage. Bishop Mist is going to finally be the first to fall. Anna does use the nano onto Golden. Turns a lot of damage around onto the Leoric. Looks like Leoric did survive that. Joanna, though, is the next to fall, but Kel'Thas does not rotating down. Leo has vision of this, though. And the range thought the clip went just a second longer. But either way, really good save on the Rainer and a great turnaround to secure 4 kills there by Roomba rotations. And number 2 is Sharp Turn Ahead, casted by Bahamut. It's Regen Retro versus Running Wild. Here we go. Now.
They're going to push in through bottom lane. Stay a while and listen will be interrupted. Apocalypse on top of that as well. They're going to have a lot of great setup. Late Bomb goes down to the Diablo. Hyperion coming through. They toss away Ender to save them. Does Zammy get out? They pop their cleanse, I believe. Gladiator's medallion. The Stay a while now comes out from the Deckard Kane as Hanzo sets up such an amazing follow-up to the Stay a while and listen to let the Bell Tower get enough damage into the Diablo. I can't believe they got that, and they have a scatter arrow into this Rainer. They find the kill.
All right, that was number 2, Sharp Turn Ahead. Great turnaround, great save first of the Deckard. Self-sacrificial save by Garrosh, but Regen Retro getting that win there over Running Wild on Towers of Doom. And then finally,
the team coming in.
You know, it's a 5-man mosh. What are you gonna say? It's a 5-man mosh. Who doesn't like a good old-fashioned 5-man mosh? Here we go.
The team coming in. The Cocoon is out on Orphea. They don't want to deal with that shenanigans once again. And that is a huge mosh. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 5-man mosh, and that is 4 down now. Are we going to see the Anduin go down, or sorry, the Anubrak go down as well? One more auto attack from the Greymane. There it is. That is a 5-man.
All right. 5-man mosh. That's your number 1 play of the week. Play by Fredonia against Phoenix Rising Amethyst, as casted by Viper Hots. So with that is our show for the week. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you as I continue to try to figure things out. I know we haven't done interviews yet. That's the next step I want to get going. But still getting a lot of assets together and things like that, getting a workflow. But we're there. I hope people have been enjoying it. And with that, thank you all for watching. I forgot the most important thing, but it's not that I forgot. It's just, I know people come here for Kitten Cam. And unfortunately, if you gaze upon my field of kittens, you will see that it is bare. The land has gone fallow, and I have no kittens. They have not decided to grace me with their presence. They're upstairs with their mommy. They like her more right now. So, but with that, thank you everyone again so much for watching, and we will see you next time at 323 Weekly. Next week is going to be Sunday instead of Saturday because of Storm Division being on Saturday night, but it will still be here at twitch.tv/Nexus Gaming Series. And I will see you all next time. Take care.